Gentlemen, there's a silent force growing within you, a power you were never taught to recognize, let alone master, but it's there. And every woman you meet, can feel it, not because you say anything, not because of what you wear or what car you drive, but because you carry something rare in today's world. Self-possession, presence, purpose. You've chosen a different path. Instead of spilling your energy for fleeting pleasure, you've chosen to retain, to refine, and to rise. You've stopped running from your impulses and started facing them. Not with guilt, not with shame, but with awareness. You've begun the work of transformation, not suppression. And when a man begins that work, everything changes. Your posture, your tone, your eye contact. You don't chase because you don't need to. You don't persuade because your energy speaks louder than words. Women notice, not consciously maybe, but instinctively. They feel the gravity, the calm intensity. They feel a man who isn't fractured, who isn't lost in his urges, but who walks with his whole self intact. That is rare. And rare is magnetic. Why? Because retention isn't just about sex, it's about energy. It's about taking the most primal force in your body and pointing it toward your goals, your purpose, your mission. It's what builds empires. It's what writes great books. It's what creates a powerful legacy. So if you're wondering why you're becoming more focused, more driven, more centered, it's because you're tapping into a deep inner well of power that most men have forgotten. This is not about being perfect. This is about being awake. It's about walking the earth as a man who has chosen not to numb, not to scatter, but to own his power. And the beautiful part, she can feel it before you even say a word. So stay the course, live the discipline, harness the hidden power. Because you are no longer just a man. You are becoming a force. Thank you. There is a certain energy that enters the room before a man does. You've seen it, felt it even. It's the man who doesn't speak loudly but commands attention. The one whose stillness is more powerful than someone else's performance. This is not arrogance. This is not image. What you are feeling is masculine energy in its purest form, not derived from muscles, money, or dominance, but from self-mastery. At the core of masculine energy is direction. A man who has trained himself, who has learned how to command his inner world, doesn't move through life aimlessly. His gaze is focused, his movements are deliberate, and the source of this power lies in what he's chosen not to give away. Semen retention, at its essence, is a declaration. I am in control of my body. I decide where my energy goes. Every time a man chooses to retain, he is practicing mastery, not just over his body, but over his mind, his desires, and his emotional reactions. You see, in a world drowning in distraction and instant gratification, discipline is rebellion. Most men are pulled like leaves in the wind by dopamine, lust, fear, scrolling, swiping, seeking validation. But the retained man, he stands rooted. He doesn't leak his power chasing illusions. He keeps it close, cultivated, directed. This doesn't make him cold. On the contrary, it makes him intensely alive, because when a man stops numbing himself with constant release, he begins to feel again. His clarity sharpens. His intuition grows. His energy becomes still, but never stagnant. Think of a mountain, unmoved yet full of force. That's what true masculine energy feels like. And yes, she feels it. She doesn't need to be told. Women are biologically wired to sense stability and power. A man who has harnessed his sexual energy and transmuted it into presence speaks a different language. His silence is louder than other men's words. He does not chase because he does not need. His wholeness makes him magnetic. Not needy, not desperate, magnetic. Why? Because his energy is no longer fragmented. It's not even about confidence in the conventional sense. What you're witnessing is the quiet magnetism of a man who embodies a deeper psychological force, an archetype that lives beyond ego, beyond personality. And this force becomes increasingly active when a man begins the path of semen retention. When a man commits to retention, something subtle but profound begins to happen inside him. He no longer leaks energy unconsciously. He's no longer driven by compulsion. Over time, his nervous system settles, his eyes sharpen, his presence thickens. These changes are not just behavioral, they are energetic. What he is doing without realizing it is awakening the deeper masculine archetypes embedded in the collective unconscious. The king, the warrior, the magician, the lover. Not symbols, not fantasies, but psychological blueprints of the mature man. These archetypes exist within all men, but they are often dormant. buried under layers of shame, addiction, distraction, and cultural conditioning. Retention acts like a signal flare to the psyche. It tells the deeper self, I am ready. Not ready to pretend, but ready to embody. A retained man begins to walk differently, think differently, and relate to others differently, not because he's trying to be someone new, but because something ancient and grounded is being reactivated inside him. Women sense this instinctively. You don't need to explain it to them. Just as men are drawn to the softness, radiance, and openness of the feminine, women are drawn to the calm intensity of the awakened masculine. It's not about looks or charm. It's about the energy you exude, the weight you carry, the steadiness in your presence, the clarity in your intentions. That energy communicates safety, direction, and dominance. Not the toxic kind, but the rooted, mature kind. Archetypal attraction is not superficial. It doesn't operate through pickup lines or external displays of status. It functions on a deeper level, biological, emotional, even spiritual. The man who retains and refines his energy becomes a tuning fork for the unconscious feminine. His presence resonates with something ancient inside her, the need to be met by a man who is full, not fractured, a man who holds his power without needing to prove it. What makes this kind of man magnetic is not what he does, it's what he's become. He's no longer a seeker of approval. He's no longer chasing external affirmation. He is centered, contained, and available, but not grasping. This inner strength creates a powerful gravitational pull. Others want to be around him. They want to listen to him. They want to follow him. But not because he demands it, because his energy makes it feel natural. That's the power of archetypal embodiment. It's the shift from performing to radiating, from chasing to drawing in, from being a man others tolerate to being a man others feel safe and alive around. There is a hidden engine inside every man, raw, potent, instinctual. It's not just sexual desire, it's life force. It's the same energy that builds civilizations, writes symphonies, invents technologies, and leads revolutions. But for most men, that engine is misunderstood and misused. Instead of fueling creation, it's dissipated through compulsive release, wasted on fantasy, or numbed by distraction. The practice of semen retention invites a man to reclaim that energy and begin a deeper process, inner alchemy, the transformation of primal energy into creative power. Sexual energy is not meant to be denied. It's too strong, too vital, too central to who you are as a man. But it is also not meant to control you. What retention allows is the ability to contain without suppressing, to feel without being enslaved. This is where creativity is born. When you retain, you trap lightning in a bottle. That pressure builds, and what you do with that pressure defines the quality of your life. Every man who walks the retention path begins to notice it. An increased drive, sharper focus, a desire to build, to express, to leave something behind. That's not coincidence. That's transmutation in real time. The same energy that once fueled late-night urges and mental fog now fuels your ambition, your ideas, your hunger for meaning. It moves up the ladder of your psyche, no longer just in the body, but in the mind, the heart, the spirit. This process is ancient. In every mystical tradition, there's a recognition of the power of sexual energy as a sacred force. Alchemists spoke of turning base metals into gold. But the deeper meaning was always psychological, transforming the base nature of man into something refined and elevated. Retention becomes your crucible. It's not always easy. At times it's uncomfortable, but within that discomfort is your creative edge. You start to channel instead of chase. Your thoughts gain clarity, your speech gains weight, your presence becomes infused with purpose. You stop waiting for permission to act. You start building. Maybe it's your business. Maybe it's your art. Maybe it's your body or your craft, but it's no longer just about surviving. It's about creating something that outlives you. Women notice this too, not just in a sexual sense, but energetically. A man who is actively creating has a fire behind his eyes, a restlessness that's been harnessed. He doesn't need to be entertained because his life is already full of meaning. He's not trying to impress anyone. He's too busy giving birth to something real. Creative power doesn't mean you have to be an artist. It means you've chosen to stop wasting your essence. You've turned inward, discovered the furnace inside, and decided to use it not for empty pleasure, but for legacy. This is what gives your life structure, beauty, and direction. It's not abstract, it's physical, biological, spiritual. The same energy that could destroy you is now the energy that fuels your rise. Every man, at some point in his life, reaches a threshold, a moment where pleasure no longer satisfies, where distraction no longer numbs, and where external success starts to feel hollow. It's at this threshold that real transformation becomes possible, not the surface-level kind, but the kind that touches the soul. Semen retention, though often seen as just a practice of physical control, is in truth a doorway to deep psycho-spiritual growth. It is a mirror that forces you to face yourself without filters, without escape. Discipline is often misunderstood. It's not punishment. It's not suppression. It is structure. It is direction. It is the sacred act of choosing long-term alignment over short-term gratification. And there is no discipline more intimate, more revealing, or more challenging for a man than the discipline of controlling his own sexual energy. This energy is the most primal force in the male body. To work with it consciously is to begin the process of knowing oneself, not just intellectually, but through direct, embodied experience. The mind and body are not separate. When you retain, you don't just affect the physical level, you initiate a shift in your psychological and emotional patterns. You begin to see your habits with clarity. You notice the triggers that used to own you. You feel the pull of desire rise, but instead of reacting, you witness. That gap between impulse and action is where consciousness begins to grow. In that space, you start to ask deeper questions. Why do I want this right now? What am I avoiding? What am I really seeking? The answers often aren't about sex at all. They reveal wounds, fears, insecurities, and unconscious beliefs you've carried for years. Semen retention becomes a lens through which all of this rises to the surface. It's uncomfortable, but that discomfort is not the enemy. It's the invitation. True spiritual growth doesn't happen through escape or fantasy. It happens through confrontation with your lower nature, your shadow, your restlessness. And yet through that confrontation, something higher is born. You begin to sense a center within yourself that is deeper than emotion, deeper than thought, a calm, unshakable awareness. You don't have to name it, but you start to trust it. You begin to live from it. This isn't about becoming detached or ascetic. It's about becoming whole. Discipline teaches you that freedom is not the absence of structure. It is the result of conscious choice. The man who has learned to govern his own energy becomes internally free. He is no longer pulled by every impulse or manipulated by every passing pleasure. His sense of identity is no longer shaped by external forces, but by his own inner authority. Psycho-spiritual growth means you begin to live vertically, not just across the surface of life, but in depth. Retention initiates this descent and ascent. It roots you into your own being while also awakening you to something greater. Through discipline, you come into contact with the full spectrum of your humanity, animal and divine, wounded and wise, instinctual and conscious. There is a subtle yet powerful shift that happens when a man begins to master his sexual energy. It's not loud, it doesn't announce itself, but it is deeply felt by others, and especially by women. You don't need to speak about it. You don't need to prove anything. Your very presence begins to transmit something different. It's not just attraction in the surface sense. It's resonance at a deeper, almost primal level. Women sense it. Even if they can't explain why. This happens because semen retention doesn't just affect your internal chemistry. It rewires your presence. It influences how you walk, how you breathe, how you hold eye contact. Your nervous system becomes more stable. Your energy stops leaking. You become anchored. No longer pulled in every direction by lust, distraction, or emotional volatility. That anchoring is what women feel first. It's not about what you say. It's about how settled you are in yourself. In a world where many men are mentally scattered, emotionally reactive, and energetically depleted, a man who is centered becomes a beacon. Without chasing, without trying to impress, he naturally draws attention. And it's not just physical attention, it's something more instinctive. Women are biologically wired to detect subtle cues of strength and stability. It's evolutionary. A man who is in control of himself is perceived as a protector, a provider, a force. Not because he dominates others, but because he governs himself. This doesn't mean being cold or robotic. In fact, the opposite is true. The man on retention becomes more alive. His emotions have more depth. His gaze has more intensity. His voice carries a different tone, fuller, calmer, more certain. There's a sense of a something more out behind his presence, a weight, a silence, a self-knowing. Women pick up on this intuitively. They might not consciously say, "This man is retaining," but their body knows. Their instincts know. Part of this is energetic. Sexual energy, when not wasted, begins to build up and circulate. It enhances vitality. It improves posture. It strengthens the eyes. That's not mysticism. It's physiology. But more than that, it changes the signal you send out. You're no longer signaling need. You're no longer radiating desperation. You're full, grounded, overflowing rather than grasping. This is profoundly attractive. Most men, when around women, unconsciously reach out for something: attention, validation, approval. But the retained man has already fed himself from within. His cup is full. He is not seeking completion. He is simply being. That changes everything. It creates a tension, a charge. One that doesn't need to be acted on, just felt. And women do feel it. It draws them in, not through manipulation or tactics, but through truth, through energetic alignment, through presence. She may not understand it rationally, but she'll feel safer in your space, more seen, more intrigued. Your energy becomes rare in a world of excess and overexposure. She feels the difference between a man who takes from the world and a man who brings something to it, not performance, not persona, essence.